President's Day, Monday, February 17th. This is episode 172. Matt Roy, Chuck McTinnick, Don Harris. What's going on, guys? How are you?
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I mean, it's a day that I didn't know if everyone would be here because it's President's Day. Thank you to all the presidents. And, I think, did they merge this? This is a relatively new holiday. It's like President's Day. They didn't want to celebrate Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday and everyone individually.
Yeah,
so
when
they
did
just
they
grouped
change
it all
that?
in.
When I was in elementary school, there was both. There was Washington's birthday and Lincoln's birthday.
It comes up on me. Yeah. So even when I was in school, it was like that.
So when did they merge it?
I don't know. But
It's been a while, 20 years maybe?
I'm just glad our company recognizes it. I honestly forget that this is a paid holiday every year. And then I come in and I'm like, oh, yeah, hey, cool.
Don't know much about history.
We got a lot to talk about, though, on this President's Day. All-Star Weekend was something. It was hit and miss. It was the apple of Spurs fans' eye, though. I thought that Spurs fans had a lot to look at, to watch, to be excited about, especially when it came to their young stars in Victor Wembanyama and Stephon Castle, and some intriguing things that happened in the skills challenge of trying to outsmart the system there. So we'll get into all of it. All-Star Game format. I want to talk a little bit about LeBron bowing out of the All-Star Game 2 hours beforehand, which was certainly a choice. Stephon Castle, his stock pointing straight up after the dunk contest and the Rising Stars Game MVP. We'll talk about him. Plus, like I said, Wemby and CP3 trying to outsmart everyone on the skills challenge. We'll also get a lot of sound in from our guy and man on the ground in San Francisco. Zach Hedrick was out there getting all the sound for us. So thanks to him doing all that.
Shout out Jack Green.
And Jack Green. I do have trivia, though, for you today, Chuck. It's been a while. I needed to, test it. I'm sure you might have seen this on Twitter yesterday, though, so you might have seen the answer.
Well, we'll see.
Stephon Castle became the second rookie to participate in the Rising Stars, the dunk contest, and the All-Star Game in the same weekend. Who was the first and only?
Well, rookies don't make All-Star games. Usually.
I feel like we should know this. Like the dunk is a dead giveaway, right?
It's a pretty...
Blake Griffin.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Chuck,
actually a pretty good one.
Chuck, you got a guess?
I don't, but I'll go with Blake Griffin too.
You always let Don answer first.
He's usually pretty good at that.
Chris, you got it.
I'm going with Blake too.
He's going with Blake. Javi? Blake Griffin is the answer.
Nice, very nice.
Blake Griffin is correct. He participated in the dunk contest. That was the year he went over the car. He was in the Rising Stars.
It was a Kia, too.
He was a Kia. Yeah, well, they've been
a smaller car.
Bigger guy, smaller car than Mac McClung this year. And then he participated. He was an All-Star his rookie year. So that is a nice pull from you. Nice pull.
Here's the thing about the Matt McClung dunk. You have to really process. It's not a Kia convertible. It's not the hood of the car. He jumped over the highest part of the car with someone sticking out of the sunroof with a ball on his head. And when you watch him walk up to the car to get everything set, the roof of the car is at his chest.
Yeah, he's not a big guy.
It's a Honda. It's a Honda
Kia.
Accord. It's a Kia, but
yeah,
it's the same size. It's like jumping over your Honda Accord's highest part.
Yeah, well, the thing about that dunk, and we'll get into the dunk contest in a little bit, is that it was basically the same dunk that he did last year, just over a car. Like, it was essentially the same thing.
It's still impressive.
I'm not saying it's not impressive. I'm just saying there was a certain dunker that didn't need props.
If there was no basketball involved and no hoop involved, and you just saw a guy out in the parking lot jump over your car, you'd be astounded.
Well, that's basically who he is just a guy out in the parking lot, because he doesn't.
Well,
he's not actually in the NBA.
Right.
It's true.
All right, so let's talk about the All-Star Game first. Nice pull from Don there to get Blake Griffin. Team Shaq won the All-Star Game. I guess that was the OGs, Team OGs, 41-25. First and foremost, I want to ask about the format, because that's the main talk here. What did everyone think of the format? If nobody watched it yesterday, which is probably a lot of people, I only watched it because Wemby and some Spurs people were in it. There was basically a bracket style tournament. There was 4 teams, 24 All-Stars split up between 3 of the teams. One of the teams was the Rising Stars team that won the Rising Stars bracket on Friday. So that was the team that had Stephon Castle on it. That one coached by Candace Parker. What were your thoughts on the revamped All-Star Game after last year? The All-Star Game was a complete farce, and they scored over 200 points, the winning team did, in that All-Star Game. Did you think this was better or worse?
Well, I thought it was better. I think the format lends itself to the fact that it has to be more competitive, right? Because you win in advance, and if you lose, I don't think that the veteran team wanted to lose to the rookie team going in. So on the surface, I think the idea was good. Have team against team, win in advance. The problem I had was that there was too much time in between the first game when it was like, okay, I think I might be able to get into this. And there was all that TNT nonsense in between game and game. And I think you lose people at that point. At least for me, it was like, okay, I can sort of get into this. It wasn't like bodies were hitting the floor. It wasn't like it was uber competitive that first game. But I think markedly it was different and it was better and it's set up more for being more competitive. But when the commissioner has to meet with all the players before the game and say, we need you guys to go out and compete, I think you've got probably some issues going in.
Well, he did that last year too. It didn't work. So
I think the fact that it was more competitive was better. I think it was disjointed with all the breaks. I mean, the TNT thing happened during a game.
It was literally, it was 11-0 in the final game, and the TNT took a 20-minute break in between.
And so I was thinking, if you're Wemby, you played in the first game, then you had to sit. You had to sit through Kevin Hart performance, musical performance, whatever it is. And then you sit through the 11-0 run. You're not playing because you're on the bench. And then you sit through the TNT thing. Like, it was an hour from Wemby sweating to Wemby sweating. And
no, I think it was more than that. It might have been like an hour and 40 minutes. Maybe, it was wild.
It was a long time. And, these guys have to re-warm up and everything. It was just disjointed. I like the fact that they made a game where it gave them incentive to have to win. But other than that, I think they can tweak it in different ways to make it a little better. At the rookie thing, I saw Draymond went off on.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
They're not valid all-stars. Why do they get to play on Sunday if they didn't earn it? They're not. But at the same time, I like the fact that they're out there pushing the real all-stars to have to play hard. Otherwise, they'll get embarrassed.
That was the most competitive game, was the one that the all-stars and the rookies played, because no all-star team wants to lose to some rookies. So, I mean, I thought that was actually – Draymond has a valid argument. Basically, Draymond said, why are we bringing all-stars to the all-star – or why are we bringing rookies into the all-star game? Like, yes, they played on the same court on Friday, but that court is the all-star court because all-stars are on it and they're not all-stars, was basically his point. I get it. However, it did make the game more competitive, because that game, I was glued to that one a little bit more. One, because Steph Castle was playing and he was playing well, but two, because I really wanted to see the all-stars lose to some rising stars. I really did.
Yeah.
What about? Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that too. Then maybe it would have been incentivized for them to, maybe not go out there and get embarrassed the second time. For me, it's like, do I have time for this carnival atmosphere in all the sporting events? It's not just the NBA All-Star weekend, but if it was just basketball and they're playing and they're competing, but do I need all the other stuff? And I think the other stuff, it was nice. They used to kind of blend that stuff in. Now it's completely taken it over, and it's almost overshadowing the event itself. So
Kevin Hart, man, I thought too much Kevin Hart.
I thought that Saturday night was much more digestible. Saturday night, you have the skills challenge, and it was quick. It was skills challenge. All right, a little bit of a break before three-point contest, and then dunk contest. And dunk contest went fast too. We were able to get it on air on 9 or at 9 and at 10 because it was quick. It was fast paced. Sunday just drew on, man. It was pretty bad. And coming from me, I hate all-star games. I hate Pro Bowls. I hate all of it. Like, it's just, why are we doing this? It's not even a game anymore. It's just a waste of everybody's time. Let's just call them all-stars and give them the weekend off. Like, we really don't need to do these exhibitions. I would rather watch paint dry. I would rather watch NASCAR than watch an NBA All-Star game. And that's saying something from a guy who hates NASCAR.
Did you feel the same way about the All-Star games in like the mid-90s when Kobe was guarding Jordan and they were playing?
No, because it was competitive then. Yeah, they were trying.
It's all about trying and being competitive.
If there's effort, like I liked this year a little bit more because you could tell there was a little bit of effort. There was like, it wasn't last year where there was like, all right, let's lob here, let's lob there.
Right.
I mean, you still had Steph going half-court shots and making one of them, which was impressive.
It was competitive.
It was a little bit more competitive. You had a little bit of defense. Kyrie Irving was trying.
Wemby was trying.
Wemby was trying. The Rising Stars were all trying to win that game. Yes, it wasn't the best basketball, but it was at least a little bit better. So I liked that. The part that really soured me was before the game when LeBron bows out and he says it was because of ankle and foot discomfort. It's a fine line there, but I think that was completely selfish of him to do that because it could have gotten Norman Powell into the game. And Norman Powell's a guy who deserves to be a first-time All-Star. And this is where the leagues kind of differ, in my opinion. In the NFL, being a Pro Bowler doesn't mean anything anymore. Drake May was a Pro Bowler. Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler. Neither of those guys are top-tier quarterbacks. Neither of them should be in the Pro Bowl.
Were they real Pro Bowlers or were they?
They were alternates. They were fifth. They were fifth alternates.
But it doesn't go on your resume.
Yes, it does.
No,
it does.
No,
but that's what I'm saying. It does, and that's why
it doesn't. When you say Zach Martin is a 9-time Pro Bowler,
it doesn't mean anything anymore.
It means he was voted to the Pro Bowl by his peers 9 times.
Drake May is now a 1-time Pro Bowler.
No, he's not.
In his actual resume, it says that. Yes.
Well, that's
what I'm saying, though. That's my point.
That can't be.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. It invalidates the entire process.
Correct.
By doing that. In the NBA, I think that it's actually important to be named an All-Star because there's 12. There's 24 All-Stars. And so I feel like it's still important to be named an All-Star. Kyrie Irving was a deserving All-Star, even though he was an injury sub for Anthony Davis. Norman Powell would have been a deserving All-Star, even though he would have been stepping in for an injured LeBron James. However, LeBron decided to be a selfish superstar.
I don't think
alternates
should count towards your resume in either.
Either way, decided to be a selfish superstar, take himself out of the game, and not even ruin all the pictures too. Like, did you guys see when they were taking the group photos and he was still dressed in his street clothes? Yeah. Like, what a jerk. Yeah. Like, put the uniform on. Also, you're not playing a real game. You're playing an exhibition. Lace them up, go out there for 2 minutes, throw a lob to somebody, and then go sit on the bench. Like, what was the problem?
It might have been a Draymond type of protest, a silent protest. He might not like the format. He may have been mad at the commissioner about something. LeBron's got so much juice, we'll never know what his motivation was. But if he wasn't going to play, he surely should have let people know in advance so that a replacement could have been.
It's been a weird year for him, right? I mean, the leave of absence earlier in the year, just a little odd, no doubt.
I mean, it was just an odd. It was a stupid thing to do, and for him to announce it,
it was a flex.
It's not something you should be flexing about. No one cares about the All-Star game anyway. Like, go out there and pretend to care. You guys don't. We all know that, but it's just that soured me a little bit seeing him go out there and not sabotage his team because his team won, but it was just a selfish move in my opinion. Let's get to Wemby. Wemby, his first All-Star game is now in the books. I loved the way he went about the entire weekend. Let's get to what he said after the game before we talk about his weekend in San Francisco.
It was better than I expected. That format, 40 points, I think it worked out really well. There was it felt like there were high stakes to the games, even though, of course, the effort is inconsistent, but it was better than expected. In that format, I think it worked pretty well. I'm proud of, really proud of being an All-Star, really proud of having the chance to give all I had and taking that opportunity. Yeah.
To me, Victor is the role model of role models if you want a superstar on your team in this league. He went out there. He said beforehand he was going to try his hardest. He went out there. He tried his hardest in the skills challenge to try and circumvent the rules. Didn't end up working. Went out in the All-Star game. Went through his entire pregame routine. I saw an ESPN writer who said that the Spurs actually flew out his trainer and people to make sure he could still go out and do his pregame routine. He read his book before the game, which made the internet, and Nikola Jokic shaking his head about it because he didn't believe that Victor actually did that. I just thought that the way that Victor went about this entire weekend just speaks to the incredible amount of character and I don't know what the other word I'm looking for. Character is the best.
He gets
one.
Big picture.
He does. He's who you want. He is the superstar that you want on your team.
When I was looking for video of him, some of the stuff that Jack sent back on Saturday, you could tell he was busy with off the court stuff too. whatever he's got going on the side. But the Spurs PR staff was leading him from basically like the court to try to get him back to the locker room. And he stopped 3 times without being prompted to take a picture with a little kid. And, it was slowing up the process. You could tell, I think, that the Spurs PR staff was probably not real thrilled that he was doing that. But I thought that was cool. I think that to me says a lot. It's yes, there's the business of basketball. There's the business on the court, but doing things like that too, when maybe not necessarily everybody's watching, that to me is where I think it tells you where the heart is.
He's like Giannis in that regard. He really gets it when it comes to young fans. He also gets it when it comes to, he made the comment that he's in shape now where he can play 100% every time he's out there. And he took a lot of pride in getting up and down yesterday. And he was breathing hard and he was making plays. He played fantastic. I think he had 6 points in the first game and 11 in the second. And I mean, that's half his team's points in that second game. But he also, like, the Joker was kind of making fun of him in the locker room for reading a book. What these guys don't understand is, All-Star Weekend is All-Star Weekend. But I don't know this to be a fact, but I would not be surprised if Victor was in bed reading lights out 9:30, 10 o'clock, just like he is every other night of the year.
Yeah.
Even at All-Star Weekend, which is like you stay out till 4. The All-Stars, you look at James Harden on Sunday, James Harden probably didn't sleep.
James Harden knows how to party. ASU alum.
Yeah, he's at Arizona State. But I wouldn't be surprised if Wemby was in bed at 10 o'clock.
It's one thing we do well, is party.
Forks up.
No, 100%. And you saw that with Stephon Castle as well. Friday night after he won the All-Star Game MVP, they were interviewing him on the set, and they were like, "What are you doing tonight to celebrate?" He's like, "I'm going to sleep. I got a dunk contest tomorrow." So, and Candace Parker made note. He's like, "That's my superstar. That's who I want on my team." But
he's not old enough to drink.
Yeah, I know. I think somehow they get around that in the NBA. But no, I loved the entire process. You could tell he was the one that was trying the hardest. He wanted to be on the floor to try and compete with all the All-Stars. He wanted to give people something that they had never seen before. People that were at the All-Star game, patrons that were watching him maybe for the first time, showing them what he's all about. Like, I just loved the entire process. And I was sitting there with my wife last night, and it was just like, she was amazed at the kind of stick-to-itiveness that he has, the character, the integrity that he has to go out there among the superstars of superstars, the KDs, the LeBrons, the Damian Lillards, everybody else under the sun, and still go out there and compete like it's a normal game.
He had the ball at the top, maybe half court, and he was dribbling up, and Charles Barkley said, that boy right there, he's going to be here for the next 20 years.
They said on the broadcast that they think he could be the MVP next year. I think it was Reggie Miller who said that. He was in the next
Castle?
No.
Wemby. No. Barkley said that about Castle.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't hear that. No, it was like I said, it was just an extremely impressive showing from Wemby. One thing that might be a little bit less impressive and was more interesting was the strategical decision. I know that's not a word, but strategical is what I'm going to go with. Decision on Saturday night to be disqualified from the skills competition. So if nobody saw it, on Saturday night, Wemby and CP3 batted leadoff in the skills competition. It was the first competition on All-Star Saturday night, which is still the best day of the All-Star break. The objective is to finish the obstacle course by passing and shooting in the quickest time. They tried to circumvent the rules and not really take the shots, just kind of take the ball off the rack and throw it towards the basket because they wanted a faster time. And that disqualified them because they weren't valid shot attempts. Everyone on the broadcast was like, this has CP3 written all over it. But come to find out, it was Wemby who came up with this decision. Let's hear from him.
I did. And I don't regret it. I think it was a good idea. I mean, we had the best time. Just numbers speak for themselves.
Before we went out, he was out there asking, and they never said nothing. So we tried something that we thought could win. You see, it had the best time. So
even in defeat, they were like, we had the best time. So
Draymond defended Wemby and said, I watched Wemby walk around and ask 5 different people, can we do
and none
this?
of them told him, because I don't think that was an actual rule that that was on the books before they did it. I think that they just made that rule up because it made a mockery of the game.
No, it was on there. It was on the rules. I read the rule book.
One of Wemby's shots was close. I'm just saying. So, like,
had they just got him, threw him off the backboard fast instead of just raking the racket. If they would have just,
it was so blatant.
made it valid shot attempt, that would be very vague. If you got even close.
Chuck?
I was looking, I was watching something else on Saturday night, and so you see this stuff on Twitter, and I'm thinking, how the hell do you get thrown out of an exhibition during All-Star Weekend? I mean, that to me was the funniest part. Give him credit for the hack, man.
Best part
they were
is,
thinking.
Best part is the rules officials and it's like a pamphlet of rules with guys' faces on the back. It looks like he just pulled it from someone in the stands. He was like, "Can I have that for a second?" He comes over. He's like, "This is where you guys messed up." I just thought it was really funny, but.
I think the bigger controversy was that they wouldn't let Allie LaForce interview.
Yeah, what a jerk. First of all, let Allie. It's an all-star game, bro. Like, let Allie.
We're not doing that.
And TNT owns the freaking rights. Yeah, that's why they get the interviews. That to me was, a little subtitle to all this that never got any attention.
That guy thought his job was way more important than it actually was. Like, but to me, it to the larger point. Wemby always looking for an edge, man. Chess, not checkers. We know he's a chess player. He went out and did that in New York a little bit earlier this year. I loved that they were trying to at least search for a way to win.
Okay, so they went first.
Yeah.
When the other teams see this, it's registering in their head, okay, that's what we'll do too, right? So they disqualified him right away before somebody else could go because they didn't want their contest to be screwed up.
I agree.
Had they gone last, would they have been disqualified?
I would hope not.
I don't know.
I would hope not. Because it was a smart decision. It was just done so blatantly and so spit in your face that it was like, well, we can't let him do this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I thought it was really funny. I was sitting there, over in the back, and I was cutting the highlights and stuff, and I was like, of course they did. Of course they did. And I thought it was CP3 too. I didn't think that it was going to be Wemby, but sure enough, Wemby's the one that was spearheading the whole thing.
Valid shot attempt.
Does that mean he can granny it? Like, because that's a valid free throw attempt. Like,
I think if you hit the rim or you hit the backboard just by throwing them up
hit the rim once.
That would be valid.
All right. Well, let's get to Stephon Castle because I feel like he was the actual real highlight of this entire weekend. Besides Victor, I think Stephon Castle really showed himself to the world. He balled out in the Rising Stars game. Some would say that his star
dominated it.
And he should have won the dunk contest, in my opinion, but he got to participate in the All-Star tournament as well. Let's hear from the young Spurs superstar.
Yeah, I'd say it was a successful weekend. I got to participate in, events on all 3 days. So, as a rookie, I feel like that was definitely a successful weekend for me.
Definitely a successful weekend, guys. Like I said, I feel like Stephon Castle introduced himself to the world.
If he doesn't have a shoe deal, he will now. It's one of those deals where you just explode overnight. The league knows about him. The vets know about him. They're talking about him. Everybody's talking about him. Anthony Edwards was talking about him. We've seen LeBron take him aside after Spurs-Lakers games. This guy, Barkley said last night he's going to be here for 20 years. He's the real deal. I sent a text, I think it was you or Zach or somebody that said, my prediction will be an 8-time All-Star. He'll be the Pippen to Wemby's Jordan. And I think in time he'll be the second best player on this team, better than De'Aaron Fox. Let's make no mistake. The next Spurs big three is Wemby, Fox, Castle. Not Devin, not Sohan, not Keldon, not any of those guys. That dude is an all-star.
Yeah, we got a long way to go before I'm making any predictions like that. But the guy doesn't seem like a rookie, right? He seems like he's used to winning. He knows how to win. He's been a part of winners. He's been a reason why his teams have won. And I think he's bringing all that to the NBA. And there's a certain, seems like business aspect to all of this for him. Not in terms of off the court stuff, but it's all business when he steps on the court and, a chance to maybe win somebody over or win over a teammate or whatever it is. So, yeah, good on him. The Anthony Edwards comments were, to me, pretty revealing, too, for him to come out and kind of single him out that he liked watching him. And, they're from the same area, roughly.
Right.
But, when a guy like that could single out anybody, for him to say Stephon Castle, I think that means something.
I thought they got to maybe people knew about him before because obviously he's been one of the best rookies in the league, if not the best rookie in the league this year. He's tops for rookie of the year this year. So I think people knew about him. I don't think people knew about him. Like they knew of him, but not about. They didn't know what his makeup was. They didn't know what his demeanor was or how he spoke to the media or how the head on his shoulders. I thought that part of introducing himself to the layman and introducing himself to media that might not cover him all the time, that part was even more important than showing what he could do on the court.
Yeah. Look, when we talk about these guys, we talk about Wemby, we talk about others, we talk about their pedigree. Like R.C. Buford was going to France to watch Wemby when he was 14 years old, right? Steph Castle was a McDonald's All-American. He was a top 3 national recruit in his class. He was a one and done at UConn and won a championship and was a starter on a defending national championship team, right? So it's not like UConn wasn't any good. They were defending national champs. He comes in as a true 17-year-old and starts. So, I mean, this guy's pedigree, people have known this kid was really, really good for a long time. And the story about George, what's the longtime Spurs scouts? George Felton. George Felton went and watched a UConn practice his freshman year. And he was coming off a tough game where the kid from Creighton, Schneider, weird last name. He was drafted in the first round.
This past year?
Yeah. He was a first round draft pick, but he was really good at Creighton. He was the best offensive player in the conference in the Big East. And Castle had struggled against him. And Hurley was tearing into him. And the assistant coaches were tearing into him. And he was having a rough practice. And they were ripping him time after time. And George Felton told the coaching staff at UConn afterwards, I've been doing this for 40 years. And you got into him. The kid never blinked. It was always, yes, sir. Okay, let's go back to work. He didn't drop his head like, oh, I'm frustrated. I'm getting killed today. Never dropped his head. And Felton said, I've been doing this 40 years. I've never seen that. I've never seen somebody get ripped that bad and not have bad body language. So he's a special breed of cat.
Baylor Shireman?
Yeah.
I just had to look that up. No, I agree. I mean, I think that Steph Castle is the real deal. And there's a reason that he wasn't included in the De'Aaron Fox trade. I mean, there's a reason that De'Aaron Fox was texting Stephon Castle saying, I want to play with you. I don't want to be traded for you. I want us to build something here.
Props to mom and dad too. Stacy Castle, who played with Tim Duncan at Wake Forest. They did their job with him.
Chris Hoffman filling in for Bob Gambert today. Yeah. Chris, what's going on the web, man?
The first thing is that I was reading about Stephon Castle's performance in the Rising Stars. He either scored or assisted on 18 of the 25 of his team's points. So that right there is amazing in itself. But Robert Smith has got a really good comment, and he said he liked how Castle looked like he belonged on the floor with Curry and the rest of the All-Stars. Sometimes they get a deer in headlight look, and he didn't seem to have that today or this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Had that great move where he missed the dunk.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it was a fantastic move to get to the rim, and he just lost the handle on it. But the Rising Stars game, that Reed Shepherd.
Yeah, the guy that we all wanted the Spurs to draft because of his shooting ability.
Reed Shepherd looked like a high school kid. He moved anybody he wanted. He got to the rim and moved everyone who tried to guard him. Just moved him all the way to the rim and then got to the cup. He bullied people in that Rising Stars game.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else, Chris?
Nope, that's good right now.
Last thing before we get out of here. Giannis made a comment about this should be USA versus the rest of the world. I don't know how you can look at the NHL, what the NHL is doing right now, and say that would not be better than what they're putting on right now. I mean, the Canada-USA hockey game on Saturday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 fights in the first 19 seconds. One of the
first
best
9 seconds.
Thank you. One of the best exhibitions I've ever seen. And when you think of an exhibition and in a physical sport like hockey, and you have the superstars of superstars, the best players in the league on both sides of the ice, at all levels of the ice, from 4 different countries, going balls to the wall, fighting, checking people into the boards, and LeBron gets out because of an ankle discomfort. It gives you a little bit of a show of like, this is important to some people, this is not important to others. So as far as a global competition, U.S. versus the rest of the world, I'm all for it because I think that actually might be the fix.
It works for the Ryder Cup. Those are always
absolutely
highly competitive. And
you put a USA on someone's chest and you put someone else's flag, nationality on their chest, they're going to play harder than if you put all-star. So
agreed.
I'm all for it. So we'll see if
sounds like a good idea. That's why I didn't watch any of the NBA stuff
You're
on
watching
Saturday
the NHL.
night. Well, my son goes, "Hey, let's watch this hockey." I'm like, okay. I mean, when's the last time I watched a hockey game? But they throw the gloves off the first 2 seconds. You're
Brady's Chuck, baby.
Okay, this is a gag. This is to try to get me to watch. Then they came off again a few seconds later, and then they came off again. And then the way that they played and checked each other, it was like, I absolutely watched an entire hockey match start to finish, and I can't remember the last time I did that. It's been decades.
I'm just hoping that there's a rematch in the finals in
The
TD
Iguanas.
Garden, baby.
Well, Canada was up 2-0, I think, last I saw.
They're up 4-0 now.
Are they?
So,
okay.
Yeah, they're gonna play the U.S. in the finals.
Hopefully we'll see it again.
Anyway, that's all we got for you today in the Sneakers to Cleats podcast. Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We and the NBA will be back on Thursday. We'll see you then.